Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Farmhouse Dirt. Today we have two very special guests from our community, and we have Pastor Teresa Bartlett with us from the Presbyterian Church here in Wayne, and Pastor Chad Rademacher from Our Savior Lutheran Church here. And they're going to talk to us today about some of the special programs that are available for community members. And we thought, what better way to kick off Holy Week than to share some of the special things that our community has for those who maybe need a little assistance, and for those of us who maybe want to volunteer some of our time, talents, and energy to some great programs here in town. So I'm going to let Pastor Teresa start off. We've been dreading this moment.
Thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome. Yes, I'm glad you're here.
We were speaking earlier about Wayne, for the size of the community, has a remarkable number of resources available for people who maybe need just a little help, or sometimes who need a lot of help. The First Presbyterian Church here in Wayne is the host for the Wayne Food Pantry. It is an ecumenical effort, but we host it in our building. I think we have some donations coming from Our Savior this next week.
You do. We have a what we call a 40 by 40 challenge. We've encouraged our congregation over the 40 days of Lent, with your help, to gather a list of household goods, that the common goods that the families can come in and shop for after the Easter season. But we do this a couple of times a year in a very variety of capacities to help the food pantry.
Yeah, and so we have great community support from our area churches. The Wayne Food Pantry was established back in 1980. It was established as an ecumenical effort. Couple of persons from the Presbyterian Church and a couple of people from the Catholic Church decided that there was a need in the community for to help people. And we, as I said, from 1980, Dan Suckup of the Catholic Church has been our treasurer. He recently retired, and we have just started working with a new treasurer, but Dan has been very faithful all of those years, and he is the last of the original persons from that startup team that was still working at with the pantry. We, on an average, will serve about 50 people a month. That will vary a little bit between 15 and 20 households, and every family that comes is based on family size. Will receive a box or boxes of food, voucher for the grocery store. And then we usually try and let them know also about the food truck that comes once a month, and the Journey Church is hosting that on their property because they have a great space. Used to be at Our Savior for several years till COVID, but now it's out there at Journey, and that is a drive-through pickup, and it works really well. Again, for the food pantry or the food truck, two different things. You can use the food truck every month, food pantry 3 times a year.
Yes.
And for the food pantry, you need to be a resident of Wayne County. For the food truck, there is not that same restriction.
Right.
So it is open to whoever wants to drive and be a part of that. Food pantry usually does Christmas and Easter special boxes. We work lots of times with the school district to get those families identified and help with that. And also the backpack program was established back in 2013, in the spring of 2013, by some local folks to make sure that kids don't go home over the weekend without something to eat. It's usually things they can fix themselves or things that don't need to be cooked. Crackers and cheese, peanut butter and jelly, that sort of thing, that kids will have things that they can eat over the weekend.
Right.
So I might as well talk about the coat closet that's at the Presbyterian Church too. That is
just do it all.
All of these things are really supported by the community. Yes. Otherwise, you could not do it, because we do have, with the food pantry, there are times when there are lulls. We lots of times, like before Thanksgiving or closer to the springtime to Easter time, lots of people are doing food drives, but there are times in the summer when it's not that active. And if it wasn't for people making monetary donations, those would be the dry spells we'd have a hard time bridging.
And what are some of your items of biggest need? Like, what are you always seeing needing filled on the shelves?
Well, one of the things that goes in the boxes every time are boxes of cereal.
Sure.
And given the prices of boxes of cereal now, that is something that we're not seeing as much as we did at one time.
Right.
But normally the boxes are packed with similar items each time. Cereal is usually in there, canned goods, canned vegetables, some kind of pasta, peanut butter, crackers. We used to get a lot of bread. We are not getting that right now anymore. So again, things that are rice. Sometimes we have a lot of rice to share canned fruit, canned vegetables, canned soup.
Mhm.
Very,
Everyday
primarily
staples.
shelf stable things because we don't have refrigeration or freezer ability for things like half a hog or half a beef or something like that. So we
Yeah.
need to stay with shelf stable items.
Yes.
So
All right. Well, I kind of interrupted you. You were going to talk a little bit about the coat closet. Then we're going to give you a rest.
yeah, and then we'll let I was just going to say the coat closet, which is also housed at the First Presbyterian Church. That was established back in 1995 by the deacons of the church. Again, saw a need and figured out a way to address it. In the last 2 or 3 years, we normally give away about 200 coats a year. We've done a big coat giveaway in October,
Yes.
and that has been working out really well and reaching out to the community. So by our calculations, since 1995, we think there's been some 11,000 coats that have gone
Wow.
through the church
That's incredible.
to other places.
Wow.
So the coat closet operates from October to March, but we will receive donations anytime as far as coats, but we're looking primarily for winter coats. We don't want leather coats. We don't want wool coats because we need things that are washable for most purposes. But men's coats, men's work jackets, and that sort of thing are a popular item, as well as kids' coats. And so those are primary, as well as hats, gloves, mittens, snow boots. If your kids outgrow their snow boots, they can find a new home through the coat closet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those are so critical because it is almost unfathomable to think in a town of 6,000 people, how many of our young people are without adequate clothing and without adequate food resources. And so this is a great ministry for our community. And we're really fortunate to have such giving, caring people here in Wayne to contribute to this as well.
Yeah.
So, Chad, do you want to talk a little bit about the Wayne Area Ministers Association and kind of what they do as well?
Yeah. So I've been here, about a year and a half now, Trisha, right at that 18-month mark.
Yeah.
In fact, last week we just had our meeting, and I ask lots of questions, and it's just, I don't know the answers. And the community that I came from prior to Wayne, similar size, similar issues, and food insecurities, winter clothes, all of those same things. Where Wayne really has stood out for me is, Teresa has said it more than once, the ecumenical efforts that have been put together from the community for a number of years. And I was just jaw dropped at the amount of resources that are in our community, but many families don't know where to go.
Right.
Or if you're somebody who finds themselves in a situation where you become maybe dependent on some assistance, and now that assistance resources has dried up or has gone away, now what do I do? But the Wacom group is, again, an ecumenical group with the churches in the community. We do have one individual that does help provide assistance. We steer most residents to George Barkham.
Sure.
And ask George to help, relay back to us information if there's information that needs to be discussed. It's all very discreet. It's all done in confidentiality, so there's anonymity amongst it all. So it's not like when we come together, we're sitting down talking about person by person. We just trust that the needs are going to be met, and we can help steer people to the food pantry, to the coat closet. Micah's Closet's another group in town that helps to offer affordable clothing options. So it's something that we as a community should feel very proud of.
Yes.
And as community leaders who give in the background, thank you for all that they do. Yes. Without those donations and without that support, we couldn't do the ministry that we've been called to do.
Right. And really all of these programs are a donation-based program. They're coming from community members and church members and just a variety of different avenues to make them happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wacom and other organizations in town are supported by the Community Chest, Wayne Community Chest, which used to be United Way, but so many organizations. I'm part of Salvation Army. We also get funds from that, and so that's a great asset. So if you donate to Wayne Community Chest, your money is spread out through the community in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. And you referenced Micah's Closet. So let's tell people a little bit about that as well, because that is a ministry here in town, up in the Verizon building.
Yes.
I don't know the street address. I should have been more prepared with that.
It's the ministry of the United Methodist Church.
Yes, correct.
And it's on the south side of that Verizon building. And so they offer gently used clothes for a minimal price, Again, persons can make donations there and they'll be resold. Do pay attention. Pastor Nick always tells us, don't leave clothing outside the door if the office is not open. Make sure, check the hours and drop the clothing off when the office is open or when the store is open.
Yes.
Because if you leave it outside in the weather, it has to be disposed of.
Or it will fly to Kansas before we can get it processed into the store.
So, anyway, but they're always appreciative of donations. And I know that they also, if there's not an ability to pay, then there's a way to work around that too.
Yes, absolutely. So another great resource here in town. And then the Family Coalition as well. Pastor Teresa, you have a lot of experience with that too. And
yeah, the Wayne Family Coalition, the groundwork was started on that before I arrived in 2017. But since that time, it has developed, and this is a gathering of agencies from Wayne and from a little farther away. And we come together every other month and share information about programs and processes. And we focus on a couple of areas: health and necessities, paying attention to health needs. So that's mental health, physical health in the community. For example, the health department has been doing a lot of stuff over this last year about diabetes and diabetes awareness. And, they're also working on some programs about vaping. It can be your next guest.
Yeah, they're on the list.
and so health and necessities, that's food and clothing and housing. And we pay attention to housing and try and learn about housing needs in the community too. But the group of agencies that share information includes the Department of Health and Human Services, the Goldenrod Regional Housing, Haven House, Norfolk Family Coalition, NNCAP, or Northeast Nebraska Community Action Partnership, the Health Department, Providence Medical Center, Pearl Street Counseling, the school system is part of that, Wayne Salvation Army, the WACM and Ministerial Association, and the ESU unit out of Wakefield, educational unit. So we all come together, share information about specific programs or things that are happening in our community, help one another know. Department of Health and Human Services is really good at helping know about federal or state programs that are available. For example, the heating and cooling program that's available, LIHEAP. I'm not quite sure what the status of funding will be for that, but you can find that information online. It's low income housing assistance, heating assistance or cooling assistance, and you can apply once a year for that funding. And we wouldn't have known about that except the Department of Health and Human Services made us aware. And so then I'm able to share with the WACM people and other community groups, and that's a resource that is in place through the federal agencies and help for community people.
Absolutely. And this is no small feat. I mean, there are so many moving parts to all of this, and so many organizations that are coordinated to work together to make this all happen for our community. And we're just really fortunate to have these options here and to be able to help folks, whether it's just, buying them a tank of gas if they're having an off week and need a little bit of assistance, or getting them to a better situation, whether it's housing or living conditions and things of that nature. We're really blessed to have those options here in Wayne. So is there anything we didn't cover that you brought along with you?
No, I think that's pretty much everything. As we have said in WACM and in other groups that I've been in, we always want to be able to give a helping hand. Not, it says you never know when, we've had people come to the food pantry, well, their water heater blew up and you had to spend the grocery money to buy a new water heater, or the battery on the car went dead and you had to buy a new battery. And so, those things happen. It can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter. And so we're glad to be able to help in those instances, bridge the gap. And I know all of these agencies we've talked about, that's their purpose, is to help people bridge the gap and help them get on a firmer footing and move ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Chad, anything you want to?
I'm just thankful to have colleagues and peers to work with who have come before us, who have laid the groundwork, and we can carry on the legacy of the work that they've done diligently, faithfully, trusting that, we know that the needs are going up. We watch it, we talk about it from month to month, and it's a sign of what's going on in and around our community.
Right.
We are not immune to this, and so how are we responding as a community is vitally important. And so we're trying to forecast ahead a little bit about what those needs could look like. Our meeting last week, the question was brought up of, what are the needs of our community? And how can we as church leaders get out into the community and start asking some of those bigger questions?
Mhm.
So that's kind of on our radar of future endeavors is just how can we be proactive so we're not always just being reactive.
Right.
So exciting conversations that are coming
Yes.
out of these conversations.
Yes, exactly. And I think that extends to our Main Street businesses too. We all have a stake in the community and the well-being of our kids and our families that live here and individuals. So it's really close to our hearts too, because we've seen some stories come through our door as well, where we've been impacted by some of these issues. And we're glad to be able to share this information to help with that cause. So I really appreciate you two both coming down today, because as we know, this is like Super Bowl weekend of, of ministry for everybody, with it being Holy Week and Easter. And you have a lot going on. So thank you for sharing your time and your talents and for giving us some insights into this whole process.
And thank you for doing
Thanks.
this.
Of course, you're welcome.
This has been
Yes.
fun, Tricia. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad we could do it.
Yeah.
So hopefully, again, we'll have some more news to share and more dirt to come up with. And we really appreciate it. So
Thank you.
Yes, blessings to you.
Easter blessings, everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Welcome home.